This is how we do it in Nashville. We can get into it in Nashville.
What's going on, friend?
Hey, my friend.
So, everybody, I got one of my favoriteest people on the planet here with me today. We went to college together. She is my ride or die cut up buddy. If you ever see us on Facebook, just ignore us because we talk in a different language.
But make sure you read all the comments.
Yeah, read the comments, but you ain't gonna understand half of it. But I have my friend, Miss Danielle Parker. So, how's it been going?
It's going lovely. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm black. I'm blessed. I'm alive. Waiting
That's right.
Stimulus.
That's right.
So, the big thing is we're going to kind of wait for a few more people to start joining us. But, how's the weather been down there?
This weather is so bipolar.
You don't even know. So today, I got a space heater in my office too, trying to be cheap and cut on costs. But I said, let me leave it on all night. I woke up today and it must have been it felt like 60 degrees. I walked in there after leaving the space heater on, threatening to burn my house down. It has to be, how hot was it? I think I walked in there and it was about 3 degrees shy of hell.
I believe you.
So, yeah, I mean, I was just telling Cassie, I spoke to her 2 days ago, the weather up here is like bipolar. It's like the Republican Party. It's all over. It's all over. So, other than that, what'd you eat today?
I'm still vegetarian. So it is going on about 16 years, holding on.
Mm-hmm.
No shade.
She a vegetarian. I saw her when we was in college. She was eating pickled pig feet. You lying.
Right.
You lying. Now, what did I eat today? I ate a catfish sandwich. No, whitening. I've been trying to cut down on eating actual meat. I'm trying to go back to my paleo pescatarian ways, I guess. I can't eliminate all the food.
Right.
So yeah. Hey, hold on 1 second. Hey, log on. Watch. Peace out. No, that's so black, ain't it?
It is.
But I could do that. I'm in my house, my world.
And no better place than during Black History Month.
Of course. And that kind of brings us to the first thing. So again, if you guys are just now picking up and joining us, I am here with Miss Danielle Parker. So she's going to be talking to us about just her experiences working throughout the pandemic, being a teacher, working in education, and how she's been faring with that. But first, Danielle, give me some black facts.
Believe it or not, we actually live in our history. And what I mean by that, we look at all these people in the magazines and on Wikipedia, which seems to be some people's Bible.
Uh-huh.
But believe it or not, we can actually be those people that people soon look up to by what we do today. And I think a lot of people miss that.
All right. Now I'll say this: I've been facing some trials and tribulations like Job as of late, but I mean, I think now we do take for granted we are living in some serious times. We got some stuff going on lately. Everything from the economy to the pandemic. I mean, Lord, we just lucky to be alive this year. Last year, was it 2020 was a year. At the beginning of the year for me up here in Nashville, we had the tornado. Scariest moment of my life. Like we had a tornado, then right after tornadoes, feel like we were just recovering. Kind of jumped into the what did we have after that? The pandemic, and then fighting the white folks for the toilet paper, and then Trump. Oh God, we survived. But that is a good point. Aside from that, like yeah, I think Black people as a community, we we're blessed. We're blessed. And I think we do just need to kind of stay focused on, keeping our culture alive a little bit. And not only celebrating Black history, but like just like you said, making sure that we are, I guess, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for, friend? What's the word? What's the word?
You celebrate each other.
That part. So yes. So as far as everything, what is it? Well, I know what you do. What is it that you do though?
So outside of education, I actually work in financial services. And what I find is in the pandemic, people are already struggling financially. And when the pandemic hit, it just showed people that what they thought was everything, the carpet was pulled out. So we got a lot of people that's misplaced. We have people that's forced to work part-time.
Yeah.
And because of all of those changes, things are really different.
Yeah.
So now we see that people are, having to make the decision on what's priority now. When before they just assumed that, every 2 weeks they had a paycheck.
I, honestly, like I'm glad that God kind of shifted my thinking with that a little bit. Now I do remember you've been on your grind with like this two jobs, kind of making them two streams of income since like college. You was trying to get me together when you first started. But I think a lot of people are looking at like their pockets before anything, and they're seeing all this like, holy crap, like what could I have done to been prepared, or what should I be looking at when it comes to like future crises? So, what do you think about that?
And I'm so glad that you said that because we see all the jokes on Facebook and social media talking about the next stimulus when it's coming, but to be honest, an extra 600 or 1,200 or 1,400, it's going to be very hard for that money to actually sustain a mortgage, groceries, livelihood. So even though it is a quick payout, for the long term, people are still stuck. And some people never actually recover from that because it's not enough money. And now they realize the importance of why they should have been saving when now they need the money, but they can't get it.
So, what would you tell people who are in the midst of this? And it's like, they already know they're screwed, but how do they pull themselves up? What would you say?
So for those people, just to be honest, we talk about not being able to really save money, but we spend and save for what we want to save. Let whoever their favorite artist come in town, and I mean last minute, and they will find
Fact.
the money to get to that concert. They will find the money to get their hair done, to get their outfit, to get their shoes, their ride. I mean, whatever. So we got to use that same discipline and creativity to make sure that we're still, we're living past surviving. Because truthfully, that's what a lot of people are doing. They're just surviving day to day.
Scratching and surviving. Mm-mm-mm. You already know. But now you work, and I guess you see, especially with education, a lot of families. And so I couldn't even imagine all of what you're hearing right now. What is the most common thing, I guess, that you're hearing with families, with kids in their situations right now?
So what's so unfortunate, you can already tell the parents that were already involved. The super parents, the one that used to come to school for volunteering and they actually beat the teacher there. How now things are shifting and now they're losing that touch of being able to be as hands-on as they used to, or how they could be if things were different. So pretty much we're seeing that more families are having to work, which means now the children that are students are being taught or being assisted by an older sibling. And you already know a child helping a child, that's not necessarily the best of the situation.
What you said, because my brother would have had me under the bus right about now.
Right.
I mean, I will say, I think as a community collectively, there are things that we need to look at and not. There's a lot of single parents. There's a lot of people like now who you said they're faced with dealing with the economic hurdles that they weren't prepared with. And now on top of that, they have kids. They have to make sure their kids are fine through this. So what has been like the biggest, I guess, setback for a lot of them that you've seen?
So just to piggyback on what I just stated,
Uh,
we're finding that the younger parents, they have to work, they have to maintain their livelihood, and now the children are actually being placed with, let's say, grandparents or older aunt or older uncle, and now because of the age, they're not necessarily as tech savvy as, let's say, a younger person or a millennial, which means now the children are missing out because grandma or grandpa is not up to par to be able to assist them in the way they need to.
Now, also, one of the things that I've been seeing a lot of, and they had on the news up here for the county that I'm in, is Davidson County. They were saying that there were almost like 30,000 students, I believe, and I can get those numbers, that were in truancy because, hey, mom and dad are at work and we just in the house party. They're just not even logging onto the computer. Is that something that you've been seeing a lot of, or like, how's it been where you're at?
So, what you're saying is true. And even with parents sometimes being in the house, I mean, if they're in another room, they can't always guarantee that the child is doing what they're supposed to, because virtual learning is independent learning. So if they set them up where they're in front of the computer and they're assuming that they're on, they sometimes don't find out that they weren't on until the teacher actually does attendance and then sends maybe a letter or email home, and now it's a different situation. So now the parent has to neglect what they could have been doing to now actually babysit or sit directly next to their child to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to.
Now, let me ask. I feel like if I was a kid right now and this was to happen to me, I would be in the same boat as a lot of kids with my grades suffering. But on the flip, do you think it says something about how people raising their kids right now that, you just not even logging on the computer? Is this like a generational thing or is this totally on par with parents? Like,
It's it's totally the parent, because just because of, let's say, a household situation, that doesn't mean that they will value or devalue education, because from the roughest of neighborhoods we have parents that they are that super parent. They do make sure that the child does their assignments and actually goes above and beyond. They make sure that they're sending those messages or uploading the work. And then on the flip side, for the parents that you think should be together, based on what's happening at the house, they're not as supportive as, let's say, somebody who has a stronger value on education in general.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So now I know up here the big thing is they've been looking at moving students back into, a lot of them were just at home, and then some were starting to begin the process of doing like hybrid education where they would go into school 2, 3 days out of the week. And after that, now we're at a point where I guess most of the counties and most of the states really are looking and saying, this isn't working. We got to step in and basically be a parent for those kids for those 8 hours because they're not in a good space. And now these counties and states are looking at moving those students back to full time. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's a hard situation to actually just say, it's 100% good or 100%, bad. And why I say that, because even on both sides, there's pros and cons. Just as simple as just the virtual learning. It gives the child or the family the flexibility where they can do the assignment at their best time, which means now parents are able to work. And then when they get off, now they can actually do the assignment versus just miss it totally. And then on the flip side, let's say the child actually goes to school, they're able to assist in whatever way possible. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it all goes back to the parent. The parent has to do their part and not necessarily put everything on the teacher, because teachers, we do all we can, but at at most we're not magicians. We got to have some kind of help to
Yeah,
make the process easier.
I think most people do. They applaud the teachers for what they're doing. But my biggest thing is if I was in your position, I would be questioning my own safety. And I guess how would I even feel about the safety of my students when they're all coming in here? Do you feel like you're going to be safe?
So, I totally agree with where you're coming from. When we actually went through the process of opening our doors, that was something that was on the table, making sure that, yes, we hit our numbers with attendance, but also making sure that the students and also the staff were safe.
Yeah.
We're talking about children, children group, children hug, children touch. I mean, that's what they do. And no matter how many times or how creative you can say, let's practice social distancing, let's stay 6 feet apart, children are children. They want that friendship or that affection from somebody that looks like them, somebody their size.
Nah.
So with the safety issue, we always have to make sure that we are on guard to minimize contact. But, of course, nothing is 100%.
Now, I guess a lot of people are wondering, I don't have kids. What does it look like when you're walking in the school? Like what's new as far as like safety protocols? What have you done like physically to stay out of my space?
And we laugh about it, but in actuality, our school has made some adjustments
Uh-huh.
as far as something as simple as, let's say, transportation on the bus. That's sometimes the highlight of a child's day, to be able to ride the bus, to see their bus driver, to see their friends, and actually sit close enough to their friend where now they can share a secret. So now we had to make adjustments. So now the children are spread out. If they're coming from the same house, then yes, they sit together, they're seated together. But if they're not, then they're on a different seat. So now we're talking about safety, but then also we lose the social contact of being able to mingle, to make friends.
I mean, well, I was a little different growing up. I didn't want nobody in my space. But I do wonder just how students, and I guess you've had more of a front row view. I think if I could put myself in the shoes of most students, I would say at that, the start onset of this, for about the first 3 months, oh yeah, we was loving it. But after that, I'm worried. And one of the things that the president was talking about today when he was talking about his stimulus package was as far as the suicide rates have gone up amongst teens. Violence amongst teens has grown up. Um, is that something that your students have voiced to you? Is that something that you've noticed that they don't have those interactions and they're almost like craving it right
Right, and that just goes back to what I was saying with the social skills. Again, regardless of how many times we say, 6 feet apart, let's do the virtual hug, have a creative creative way we try to say it, children miss that contact, as adults, even though necessarily we're not supposed to be, grouped up. Sometimes we find ourselves wanting or longing for that that social the
Yeah.
social gathering. Right.
So going forward, what do you think like the best solution? And for those of you just joining us, I am here with my good friend, Miss Danielle Parker. And she's a teacher, and I guess she's been really on the front line of seeing a lot of this. And so the question I was going to ask you is, going forward, what would you like to see from our officials on how they are helping the schools, helping you guys take care of the students?
Well, I mean, that's a totally broad answer because it's just layers. As far as making sure that we have the right equipment to be able to, let's say, check temperatures to ensure that the students are not walking in the building with a fever
Girl,
or
y'all,
some type of symptom. We have
what
say
y'all
that
do?
again.
What y'all do?
We
What y'all say?
we have it, but I'm just saying,
Okay.
different tools to ensure that we're catching signs quicker, and then making sure that we all have the supplies necessary to be able to, let's say, not cross contaminate anything from, let's say, child to child. But that's one of the changes that I think, even though it's a safety precaution,
Uh-huh.
it's also a disadvantage for teachers because it seems like we're losing instructional time because now we're cleaning, we're disinfecting.
Let's talk about teachers' pay. I mean, this is something that, and I think for a lot of essential workers, and at this point, especially throughout this pandemic, I think the idea on who we label as essential employees has definitely changed. We're looking at everybody now from the garbage man to the cashier at the grocery store to teachers a lot with this, our nurses. Do you feel that, let's like hazard pay, do you feel that you should be getting like, I couldn't imagine walking in, I remember as a student, just keeping it real. I remember in school, that one white kid comes sick, and next thing you know, it's like everybody gonna be sick. So it's always a battle to stay like germ free, to stay clean. And then now with the instructional time that you're losing, and then the time that you have to make up for it on the Zoom and this, that, and the other, do you feel like you're working more?
Totally. Because even with the virtual learning,
Mm-hmm.
of course, let's say a parent has a, a work shift. So now they can't plug into the Zoom session. So now that's attendance, which means now they missed out on the assignment or the live session, or now they have to make up for it. And now if the parent, let's say, it gets to the point where now they're working doubles, then
Uh-huh.
now it totally sets the child back because now the parent is always playing catch up, which means they never get a chance to actually give the child their help, their assistance, versus actually sending them to school where they can get it live.
Definitely. Now, I want to change it up a little bit. Like, enough with this pandemic, because I get, honestly, it's kind of overwhelming when you talk about it because it's so layered with dealing with everything. Um, let's just talk about students in general. The other day, I had, we do a lot of junior techs and stuff at my store. So I was talking to a kid about the days of Kwanzaa. And when I said Kwanzaa, he told me, "You talking about that Chinese holiday?" When I said I was about to fall out, Danielle, I was like, "Help us, Lord, help us." I felt like old black lady in Tyler Perry movie. Like, is this who we've become? Like, like, and so it got me to thinking, like, what are we doing with like these kids at this point? Like, what do they actually know as far as our history and just, I would say, like, practical sense. I feel like our parents were constantly saying to us like how out of touch we are and how out of
Right.
touch we were. But now I'm looking, and I don't know. This is because the crow feet is starting to creep. But
Right.
like, how do you feel like kids today are just low?
Soft.
Like,
Yes.
I
We're
mean,
talking about back in our day where we used to be outside. I'm talking
playing
about
all
all
day.
day from sun up to sundown. And also being able to ride a bicycle without knee pad, training wheels, gloves, and whatever else they use now. So I truly believe the children today are soft.
Beyond.
We didn't have all of that.
I mean, the biggest thing with me with them, especially, I guess I deal with like a lot of young men, is A, the presentation, and then B, as far as what or what I consider most men by the age of 12, 13 should know. Like, put on deodorant. like
Basic hygiene.
when you're presenting yourself to adults, like I remember as a child, it don't matter how you and your friends talk and what's the lingo. There's just certain things that when you see somebody over 25, you don't go and say these words.
Right.
What has been your experience with some of these kids?
So give me a moment. What I have noticed is, sometimes children lack the social skills. I mean, sometimes the parent doesn't want to have that live interaction. So versus them actually quote unquote working their nerve, now they give them the tablet or their phone, and now they're playing all of these games. Now they know how to text,
And
but
that's the
then
thing.
they
That's
don't know their letters.
like with all these artists and stuff that we have coming out, I think somewhere along the line, especially with our generation, we kind of blurred the lines from reality to imagination and fantasy with our music, our art, and I would say even our religion. I'm gonna just keep it real. And it's like we're dealing with a generation of people who don't understand, like, whoa, baby, you can't shoot your friend like it's a video game. You don't got tokens on lives. Like
There's
you
no comeback after that.
I know your life is not like Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, like legit, today, the news up here, they were reporting that it was a 15 and a 16-year-old girl, and they're wanted for murder. And it
Wow.
was the murder of another 16-year-old. And the thing about it is like you just threw away your life, and I don't even think like I don't even think it's going to enter their mind for another 10 years what it is that they actually did in that moment. And so I guess my biggest concern is with some of the parents, with us as a community, like what are we showing these kids? Like it's
And that just goes back to parenting, because if the parents are not if they're not actually taught by their parents, they can't necessarily pass on a skill that they never learned themselves.
true, true. But do you think I'm gonna be real? Like there comes an extent where I know when I have kids, like the whole thing is I don't want to have to imagine, disciplining, protecting my kid, and then they're not around me, and this fool over here blasting WAP, or this person over here wants to blast like like this type of music, or show my kids this, or expose them to this, like how do you think we should grapple with it, like as a community? Like how do we even rally behind parents at this point?
So again, it goes back to the household. The parent has to be open minded enough to be able to again expose the child to the information, not to share with them of this is what you need to do, but to show them so now they know what's out there and what to avoid. Because it's worse for them not to know it, and now they learn it from their peers. And by hearing it from a friend that automatically doesn't understand. Now they're teaching them something that they're doing and leading them down a path that might, like you said, it might cost them their freedom. It might cost them their life.
Now, with that being said, though, like, do you think that everyone has an individual responsibility to a lot of these kids? Just like, how are we behaving ourselves? Because, like, I get what you're saying. Like, let's expose them to it and let them know, no, you, all of this, like this WAP stuff, like, yeah, that's a catchy little tune. Leave it right there. Like,
Right.
at what point do we just, as a community, collectively say enough? Like, enough. Because I'm gonna be real. Like, I respect the strides of so many artists, but at what cost? Like, are we glorifying you getting the paycheck? Are we glorifying you, running for the bag or getting your coins? Or are we glorifying actual talent? It seems like us as a community, to our detriment, we're glorifying people who really are responsible for dismantling us.
Definitely.
And I don't know how I rationalize, like, as an adult, just telling my kid, like, oh, well, this is just how some people are. You need to see this, but that's not how we are. Like, at some point, your kid's going to be tempted. And I'm sorry, like, I don't want to see a little 12-year-old tempted to go have sex or do this or that and the other. But I mean, what do you think?
But that's why I said, it's better for them to hear it from their parents because it could be a teachable moment. They expose them to what's out there and I'll teach them, this is what's out there. But based on how I've raised you, how I've taught you, this is not who we are. This is not what we're accustomed to. So, yes, it's out there. Yes, your friends are doing this, but that doesn't mean that's you.
So let's just play a game. Your 11-year-old comes inside and they start singing the words to, a Lil Wayne song. What you gonna do, Danielle? What you gonna do?
Wow. Well,
Look at her, froze.
that goes back to that teachable moment.
You ain't gonna have a beef with Lil Wayne.
I mean, even as an adult, I don't listen to him to that extent. I've never bought a Lil Wayne album, a CD, that ringtone. So I can't. I'm not a hypocrite. I can't tell them.
Now, I
I
do
support
recall in
what they're
college,
talking about.
Miss Danielle, when we had that AASA ball, you was jamming. You knew all the tunes. See how people get brand new? You see how people get brand, but see, we ain't gonna let your students hear all that. But I will say,
funny.
again, like, I would say this. I remember when I started college, and
Right.
Jonathan. I remember it was a party, and like they was smoking weed, they was doing a little bit of everything. And I remember I walked in, I'm like, this is a bad after school special. But right then, at that point, like, I'm being tempted. These are things that I've never seen. Like, I've never been around people who just do this. I remember I left and I came back to the apartment, and Jonathan, of course, who had went anyway to the party. And when he got back, I was just like, dude, I just feel like I was raised in a bubble. Like, I don't know how to relate to what I'm seeing. And I remember what he told me was, really, like, dude, you were kind of sheltered. I'm questioning now, and I guess my mind still goes back many times, especially now since I'm seeing a lot of what a lot of younger dudes are seeing growing up. Like, was I sheltered? Were you sheltered? Like, should we have been knowing who these people are and knowing these things, like, at a younger age? Do you think you would have fared better?
That again goes back to being able to be raised up with morals, because yes, you were tempted, but based on what your parents taught you, you felt convicted. You know, you felt that that wasn't your scene or your situation, and because of that, you didn't feel a sense of belonging. You left.
That
So, as parents, you know, we got to make sure that children get that affection, they get that attention. So now they're not finding or seeking it from someplace else. That's why so many young people are in gangs. That's why so many young girls are, you
oh,
know, caught up in situations that they're not supposed to because,
the way
you
you
know,
use that politically correct terminology. Say
they're
home.
experimenting.
They doing. I mean, but in all actuality, like that's one of the things with females that I've been seeing is just like the search, the quest. You can tell a female who's had like some mommy daddy issues. That
Right.
quest for validation, for attention, for acceptance. It's just it's so sad. And it's sad when you see them as teenagers dealing with it. But now that we're to this age, it's kind of even sadder just seeing, that 32, 33-year-old chick that you knew. And I'm like, girl, you still don't get it. Like it's not that. But hey, what I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it anymore. It's just I hate to be defeatist, but it almost feels like a Noah situation where you just gotta board your art and just pat it down and watch everybody else go.
Sometimes it's easier because we find ourselves, you know, accepting or carrying other people's weight,
Mhm.
and we got to realize that we can't save everybody.
Now, I will say this, and that's one of the things I guess you briefly touched on earlier, was just about making sure as a parent that you are connecting your kids to good, trusted individuals, as far as even with the friends that they pick, making sure you're getting to know them. I knew when I went to college, like when I met you, when I met some of our other friends, like, okay, these are people, even as an adult, I don't feel ashamed to bring around my mother or my father.
Right.
And I look at how over the years, oh, we done did some things, but how we've how we've kind of, helped each other along the way, not only professionally or even with inspiration, but like through prayer and through like just knowing like, hey, I'm not the only square out there who's gonna be in Bible study.
Right. Old Bible studies.
Oh, you want to do it? You want to do it? Everybody, again, this is my friend. We go way back. This is Danielle. So I knew when me and you was gonna be like friends, friends, friends. It's that night of Bible study. Nobody got it but me and you. What would you say? It was probably like 15-ish people in there. And this is why you gotta pick your friends good because these people last forever. I don't want to say her name, but the tragic character came in there. We singing "Blessed Be the Name." I remember it like it was yesterday. We looked down. I don't know if it was you or me first, and we saw them feet, y'all. Her feet. First off, she was black like Wesley Snipes, like black, black, like it was a beautiful black, but she blue black. There's certain things that people of color we can't be doing. Look down and I see the feet. It was on. We have been laughing about this for a decade.
They look like this.
We have literally been like Danielle, has literally been like a decade. Like, I don't know if we're like incredibly lame or we should have been to the club dancing a Lil Wayne, but we have been laughing at this for a decade.
Literally.
But it never get old. And every time I think about it, I'm just so disappointed. Like, and then when we pointed it out to her, she tried to cover the left foot in front of the right foot.
Tragedy.
Like I'm dead. I'm dead. But driving it back in, like I would say the biggest things right now with students or with parents is if I was a parent, I would want to make sure that if I'm leaving my child at home, that there's somebody else that maybe not is going to watch them every 5 seconds, but at least it's going to come knock on the door. I remember growing up how our neighbor, my parents had to work. My parents, just like everybody else, they went to work in the evening time, and I remember my mom would be off at around 7. My dad would file in around 5 o'clock. And so me and my brothers were there, but like our parents could leave us home like at 10, 15, 10 years old, and we good. We know how to take the food down, make a little tuna helper.
Not open the door.
But it's like, I think I would just want to see more solutions and more involvement, not just from the parents, because I couldn't just imagine how tough it is right now, And nextly, what would you say you, as an educator, as a teacher, would want your community to know? What would you want us Black folks to do to rally behind you?
So as a whole, we gotta get to the point where we truly, we value education. We gotta realize that, I don't know if you've heard it, but for somebody to be smart or be intelligent or be verbal, that does not make them white. That doesn't make
Yeah,
them talking white.
yeah,
It's okay to be the cool Black person that makes A's. That doesn't make you a sellout or make you less Black because you like making good grades or you value the importance of what it will do in the long run.
yeah.
So
Preach,
I think once we
preach.
go ahead and put the tithe in the collection plate.
No. My cash app, and we'll see what we got for you.
But I think, all jokes aside, I think once we grasp that, that aspect of, it's okay to be smart. It's okay to value doing homework. It doesn't make you less than the supposedly cool person that has the latest clothes, but you ask them to read and they're using their finger.
Because I know you ain't never been cool, but I'm just saying, and that's something for the kids to look up to. I'm kidding. No, but seriously, like, I will say it took a long time, I guess, even just for me to move from that mindset, like, I am a nerd, I am this, I am that. It never really, even all the way up to college, into meeting like a good, solid group of Black friends. I think my experience going through school, being a disciplined child, was feeling like the oddball a lot of the times. And now that we are adults, I think now I look at it, I look at a lot of my experiences, and I look back and it's kind of like, I don't think I would have had the courage. I don't think I would have had the integrity to do some of the things that I do now.
Right.
And I pray for a lot of our students, a lot of our young people coming up, that they too can find, I guess, like some good. You don't need 55 friends, okay? You don't need 55 friends. You just need, because Miss Parker ain't never had that but two, me and God. But the thing is, like, you had solid friends, and
Right.
I think when you have that solid network, and not only just it helps the kid, but it helps the parents. I remember my mom knowing that, oh, he's down the street with so and so, so I don't got to worry about where my kid is, if he's smoking crank or something crazy. Like, I'm just down the street. But I guess it is what it is at this point. I guess closing remarks that I have with my best friend. I'm glad you're here. Like, I really am. I would say, as a teacher, I think most people look and they appreciate a little bit more our teachers. I hope going forward that we do see teachers getting the financial compensation that they deserve. I think for a long time in our culture, teachers just haven't been valued. They haven't. Not only teachers, but even the grocery store worker. I look now at a lot of, I think I'm a person who's been bad with it. But looking even now at, like, the grocery store worker, the nurse, even the CNA, and everybody that works in the hospital to make it possible. Like, we need to begin to appreciate these people more, and not only looking at their jobs as something to appreciate, but aspire to do, because we need more, especially Black teachers like you. So I'm really proud and inspired by you a little bit. You the wind beneath my wings, or you like the buzz it under me. But thank you for being with me today. I'm gonna make sure that I have you back, because we need to laugh some more. Like, I like this. I like this between you and me. Peace out. Peace out. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. I'm going to make sure that I include some links, even with Danielle's social media. She was talking earlier. Oh, before we close out, she was talking earlier just even about like second streams of income. So y'all need to get with her, because like, life happens. It's just like that commercial. It happens fast. Like, one day you good, and the next day you don't know what you need to do. We need to look at not only having a job, but we need to look at having, like, I would say, some independence, some streams of income aside from just what they tell you can have on those 40-hour work days. I know my experience is, one day I woke up, I went to work, and I just said enough. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. They called me to get their computers back. No, you can't have them. I'm taking them too. Like, like, you can't have my mouse, you can't have my badge, nothing. And I use that discount to the end, because that's how I roll.
That's right.
I mean, but so we're gonna get that information from you. We're gonna post those links at the bottom for everybody. Thank you for tuning in. The next time you see me will be on Sunday. I do this live at my studio, and we're going to be doing more home interviews so I can hang out with some of my cool friends, some of my good people. So peace out, Danielle. Stay Black, stay positive, stay safe. Bye.
Bye.